Well, we've lost one today, and that is, of course, Little Richard has passed away at the age of 87. Some of those great songs he brought us was Long Tall Sally, of course, Tutti Frutti, which we're listening to now, and Good Golly, Ms. Molly. Thanks so much for joining us here on 1310 News and Rogers TV. We are sorry to hear the loss of Little Richard, and certainly his music will live on. We've got lots of guests for you today, including Michael Maidment, CEO of the Ottawa Food Bank. Hello, Michael.
Good morning.
Were you dancing to that?
I love those tunes. I actually just bought a record player maybe about 3 months ago, so I'm having all kinds of fun. Well, before the pandemic started, going to all these used record shops and picking up some great ones. And Little Richard was one of the ones that I actually picked up.
Well, there you go. Well, we're certainly
sad
to hear he passed away in Nashville this morning. And we're certainly sad about that. There's been some great stuff happening in Ottawa, although we're in the middle of such an incredible crisis globally. The people of Ottawa have come through. Michael, I knew they would. Tell me a little bit about how people have come to the aid of the Ottawa Food Bank, and in turn, how you've come to the aid to so many.
Yeah, people really responded. I mean, as soon as it started back in March, we put out the call for assistance, knowing that, of course, more and more people would turn to a food bank, and the community responded immediately. And because of that, we actually released a little bit of an update this week, looking back at the last 5 weeks and what we've been able to do. And a big part of that has been food. We've really increased the amount of food that we've been able to put out there, over 650,000 pounds. We've been able to provide grocery gift cards as well for a 2-week period. And early on, we were seeing a run on the grocery store supply chain and, lots of outages and foods that we just couldn't get. So we used gift cards strategically to allow people to go to grocery stores. So some big investments so far in the first 5 weeks, but all because the community has been generous.
Now, my understanding, Michael, is that about 40,000 people were needing a food bank pre-COVID-19. What numbers are we talking now?
We're really seeing it, vary across the city. And, one of the things that's unfortunate during a crisis like this is that a couple of things happened. We usually collect great data at food banks, and a lot of our food banks lost volunteers because those volunteers were older and they were at high risk. So many food banks have been working with a shoestring staff or no volunteers at all, and there's been a lot of pressure. And so one of the things they haven't been able to do is collect data, and so it's really prevented us from having a full picture of what's going on out there, because we're actually now having to go back and catch up and enter that. But we saw some food banks across the city stay relatively the same, and then we saw others that really doubled, and even a little bit more than double in demand. There are a bunch of things going on. I think people are staying at home. They're afraid to go out. They want to stay safe. They're at risk. So we may not see some of those people show up in food banks. But one of the things that we have been able to track is the number of new people going to a food bank for the first time, and that number is up by 15% so far.
It really is. And, I think you were one of the first people to say this. We have, of course, I think we spoke pretty much every week in the last couple of months. And I think one of the first people to sort of say that this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. And you and I both know that philanthropy is also a marathon. We need to think about it that way. And I think about not only the weeks to come, but the months and the years to come. Are you even in that space yet where you can think that far ahead and what the needs might be?
Yeah, we're beginning to transition to think longer term, because it is a marathon, and when you're in philanthropy and you're trying to understand how much do we need to raise, well, you really have to have a good understanding about what the needs that lie ahead are. The recent thing that we're trying to model from is the economic downturn in 2008, and that's the most recent thing that we have in history that we can use as a model. We know that food bank use increased across Canada by 28.8% following 2008. It set a new high watermark for food bank use in Canada. And so we're using that as a model to say, if we had the same type of increases, what will we need to prepare for, post-pandemic? So we're trying to assemble resources and make sure that we can be prepared for a broad community response. And it won't be, in the months to come. It will likely be years.
And that's what really scares me in terms of there's so many people that were sort of living paycheck to paycheck pre-COVID-19, and now a lot of those jobs literally are not even happening. Now the doors are not even open. So the long-term effect of that, and I think the government can only sort of assist for so long, because as we know, the government's money is taxpayers' money, and there's only so many taxpayers. So I think it's a cyclical thing, and I do certainly worry about it. When we think about sort of how you're working with the community, and many people may not know, there's the Ottawa Food Bank, of course, you're the CEO, Michael, but when we think about all the different communities that you help, how are they all managing during this time?
Yeah, everybody seems to be doing well. There's a network of 112 different agencies that we support. So the one big part of that is 26 community food banks. And then we've got multi-service agencies that food is a part of what they do, but maybe it's not the primary part of what they do. So well-known organizations like, the Mission, the Shepherds of Good Hope, the Ottawa Booth Center, YSB. So all these organizations, women's shelters as well, that do other work, but food is a part of what they do. So, they've had challenges. Obviously, we've lost volunteers early, so there's been a lot of pressure. They've seen an increase in demand. So, just the hours, just the demand that's been put on them. But they've done remarkably well. I mean, these are really caring, committed people, sleeves rolled up in community, there day in and day out, before COVID, after COVID. These are amazing people, and, we're privileged to be able to support them as a central agency and enable them to do the important work they do.
We're speaking with Michael Maidment, CEO of the Ottawa Food Bank. And speaking of amazing people, let's talk about your staff. I don't know them all, but certainly the Rachel Wilsons of the world, the Tim Morans, the Tricia Johnsons, the Sam Ingrams. Let's talk about people that have really stepped up in your organization during this time.
Yeah, we have a remarkable team. It makes an amazing place to work, and some of the folks that you've mentioned are incredible, and it's allowed us really to be able to respond. I mean, you need in a world where there's 90,000 plus charities. There's certainly there's a lot of noise in the marketplace, and the team that we have really been able to really focus the message of our organization in the community. And I think everybody knows, what a food bank is, but everybody can connect with it. And we have an amazing team that really shows, I think, the impact that you can make when you give to an organization like ours. And they really tell the stories of what that gift is actually doing. And, I remember beginning my work in nonprofit about 15 years ago, and Max Keeping was someone who kind of took me under his wing and really supported me and mentored me as I was beginning. And, the thing that he said over and over and over again was just, Mike, tell stories. Just tell the stories of people and the impact, and keep it simple. And I think that's what we've been able to do.
Are you able to care for yourselves at this time? I know a lot of nonprofit people just give so much that it's hard at the end of the day to think about themselves.
Yeah, we're not really good at doing that, I think, in our sector as a rule. But I think I'm feeling right now that we're entering into a phase where either things are stabilizing, or at least I think we're accustomed to a new normal. One of the things that we've had to do is add additional capacity. We deliver, up to 14 tons of food every day. We've really increased the amount of food that we're providing. We would normally provide, a 3 to 5 day supply. We're now providing 7 days, and we're seeing more people. So we're we've had to reach out and hire more staff in our operation to deliver that food. And it's allowed us to, go into a bit of a cycle where we can, take a day off here. And I know that with the long weekend ahead, I think we've got, most of our team rotating through and taking an extra day that weekend, just to recoup a little and prepare for what's ahead in the months to come.
Excellent. Thank you for your time. Michael Maidment, CEO of the Ottawa Food Bank. We are sending you lots of love. Stay with us here on 1310 News. We'll be right back.
Our special live COVID-19 coverage will return after this.
Ottawa's local shops, restaurants, and services are woven into the fabric of our city. We can all help them during these challenging times. Order from them online, purchase gift certificates to use later, order meals for takeout or delivery, send them messages of support on social media. Please do it today. Learn how at ottawa.ca/buylocal.
Special live COVID-19 coverage with Sam Laprade.
We're so glad you're here with us on this Saturday, May the 9th. It is a little bit chilly out there here in Ottawa. We're welcoming our listeners from Kitchener on 570 News, our friends in Halifax at News 95.7. We have a great show for you today, lots of great guests. A little bit later in the show, we're going to speak with Joanne Poirier. She's the CEO of the VON. Certainly, they've been caring for many, many people, but you also may recall that tragedy definitely struck the VON during the senseless killings that happened in Nova Scotia. We're going to be chatting with Joanne Poirier in a little bit. We're also being chatting with Pepe. Pepe is a bus operator with OC Transpo and is just a guy you want to spend a lot of time with. He's a great guy. We're going to chat with him as well. Up now is Karen Brownrigg. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, and Karen is from IHR Services. How are you managing through the pandemic, Karen?
Really well, actually. We're now starting to mobilize to support employers as they're thinking about what it means to reintegrate back into work activities.
It is such an interesting time for people in HR, I would suspect. There's so many different facets to this story right now. There's people that are not working. There's people that are working 25 hours and 24-hour days. It really is a strange time. What are you seeing as sort of top of mind for employers right now?
I think it's about mental health and the anxiety associated with the degree of change that people are dealing with. Some of the change has been really positive, mind you. There's people who have really adapted well to working in a more virtual environment now. And then there's the constant worry about what's next, what's to come. Will I have a job? Will my hours increase? Will my hours decrease? What does it mean to go back into a more public realm? And that's affecting people in very different ways.
It really is a fascinating time to see how employers are going to see this. We were seeing yesterday, I saw a news article talking about Google and a number of other high-tech places in the United States saying that their staff weren't going to be going back to normal, quote-unquote normal, in terms of their workplaces until 2021. Does stuff like that surprise you when you hear it?
No, actually, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think, we've completely busted the myth about people not being productive when they work virtually. Office space is costing more and more. People are looking for a little bit more balance in terms of what their day looks like when it comes to, saving time from commute, making sure that they're productive during the hours of the day that they themselves physically and mentally are more productive. And I think people are now starting to realize that it's had a very positive impact in organizations being able to maintain their commitments on their deliverables.
Really is really interesting for sure. We're speaking with Karen Brownrigg, founder of IHR Advisory Services. Karen, let's talk a little bit about health and safety. And I know, some people sort of pre-COVID-19, they'd be asked to sit on the health and safety committee and they might sort of roll their eyes thinking, what am I going to do? Maybe in an office environment on that committee, not realizing how important and vital it is. Of course, very different in the healthcare settings. Health and safety would be top of mind. Where will health and safety sort of be in terms of the employer's responsibility at this time? And for those that may not have policies, they must be maybe a bit panicked right now.
Yeah, and they should be, actually. I think the conversation needs to start now. Health and safety is at the very front of everything that we do, especially as we're looking at what it means to reintegrate back into whatever this new normal is going to be. And we've got to be concerned about two things. We've got to be concerned about employee privacy, and we've got to be concerned about anxiety levels and how that's going to change as we're reintegrating people into the workplace. Phase one of that reintegration was probably going to look like a reduced number of people in the work environment, likely very little contact with anybody in the outside world, so anybody coming into the organization that's not an employee. And people that are comfortable in phase one may not be comfortable in phase two. And employers are going to have to be very mindful that their leaders and their health and safety committees are going to be playing a very active role to proactively engage in dialogue with employees about how they're feeling. So what is it that they're going to need in order to feel safe going back into the workplace? How do we do it in such a way that we're protecting people's privacy as well? And how do we make sure that we have an open dialogue with them, that if their circumstances change and they're no longer comfortable, that they feel safe to engage in a conversation with either the leadership team or the health and safety committee.
So what advice would you have for employees that are having those conversations? Because sometimes employees are so nervous to speak up about anything, especially in a time of crisis.
I think it's really important to find the person that you're most comfortable with in the organization and understand that your employer has a duty to protect your health and safety. And if you don't tell them about your concerns, then you're part of the problem. And you've got to give them an opportunity to engage in a dialogue with you, to put the safety measures in place. And it may be simply that they're not aware of circumstances that you're seeing day to day. And your health and safety rep, and or if your organization is large enough to have a health and safety committee, are people, they're consisted of both employee reps and management reps. So feel safe to go and chat with them, and they can be the voice on your behalf to go and have the dialogue with the leadership team.
Do you think there'll be a sort of a weird dynamic now because so many people are out of work that employers will be sort of looking at employees going, just sort of be happy that you have work? Or do you think it'll be more collaborative than that?
I think there's a little bit of both. Employers need to be aware that if an employee feels that they're, for whatever their personal circumstances, that they're concerned about reintegrating back into the workplace, and they've got anxiety, maybe they've got someone at home who's immunosuppressed, maybe they themselves have health concerns, and they're not comfortable returning to work. The employer needs to be very aware that anxiety is real. These are extenuating circumstances that we've never seen before. And even though the employer may feel and be able to justify that they have all of the appropriate safety measures in place, if that employee is still not feeling safe to come back to work, there's a requirement for that employer to engage in a dialogue with that employee to see what options are available. It may be that they remain on an unpaid leave of absence. And then, we've got government programs that they can avail themselves of, like the CERB and so on. But it's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not a force fit. You can't require them to come back without trying to resolve the situation.
We only have a very short period of time, but we're hearing a lot of employees saying, I'm not going to come back. I'm actually earning more on the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's probably something that might end up backfiring in the long run. Employers need their employees to come back as an active workforce in order to recover what they've lost and the challenges they've experienced during COVID. And there's only going to be so many jobs at some point. And folks, if they're self-selecting out without any medical concerns or medical reasons for doing so, they may end up finding themselves that there isn't a job available at the end because there are other people who have filled the roles, and then there's no work for them at the end of the day.
Appreciate your insight always. Karen Brownrigg, founder of IHR Advisory Services. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Sam. Have a great day.
Take care. When we come back, we're going to speak with Joanne Poirier. She's the CEO of VON Canada. And then we're going to be speaking with Pepe. He's a bus operator with OC Transpo. And a little bit later in the show, you will not want to miss Chris Labelle. He has written an incredible song called Thank You Frontliners, and you'll definitely want to stay with us for that. We're also going to be speaking about mental health. We're going to be speaking about leadership, and we're going to be speaking about the ByWard Market. Stay with us here on 1310 News.
Our special live COVID-19 coverage will return after this.
one for breaking news. This is 1310 News, Ottawa.
It's Saturday, May 9th. Good morning. I'm Alex Gouge. Right now in Ottawa, it's 2 degrees and mostly cloudy. Here's what's making news this hour. There are new signs of both economic and social life appearing in many parts of the country this weekend, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau warns the reopening of the economy and lifting of restrictions will happen very, very gradually. Yesterday, he announced the federal government will be providing more support to help certain sectors flattened by the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 2 million jobs were lost in April, and Trudeau has announced the government is extending the emergency wage subsidy program. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's in no rush to negotiate another financial rescue bill. His comments come as the government is reporting that more than 20 million Americans lost their jobs last month due to economic upheaval from the COVID-19 pandemic. Trump's top economic advisor says the White House wants to let the last round of recovery funding kick in before committing to hundreds of billions or more in additional spending. Grassroots volunteer organization Conquer COVID-19 is hosting its final PPE drive today in collaboration with the Ontario Medical Association and St. John Ambulance. The goal is to collect unused supplies and give them to frontline workers and anywhere that needs them during the pandemic. Items such as face masks, gloves, baby products, and several other essential items are being accepted. The drive runs today until 5 o'clock at St. John Ambulance on Morrison Drive. I'm Alex Gouge, 1310 News. For more news, follow us on Twitter or at ottawamatters.com.
COVID-19 special live coverage continues with your host, Sam Laprade.
Thank you so much and welcome back. We want to welcome our listeners in Kitchener on 570 News, our listeners in Halifax at News 95.7, and of course, all of our listeners here at 1310 News and our viewers on Rogers TV. We're so happy that you're here with us, and I'm very happy to welcome our next guest. That's Joanne Poirier, CEO of the VON. Hello, Joanne.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to hear your voice. It's been too long, my friend.
It sure has.
It has been a long time. We've known each other a very long time. We both used to work in municipal politics. You remember those days?
Certainly do.
Certainly
do, Sam. And you haven't changed a bit.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, you haven't seen me up close, Joanne. That's the social distancing that's happening. Let's talk a little bit about the VON. There's an incredible milestone coming up next week. Nurses are really the heart of the healthcare system. Talk to me a little bit about what's happening next week.
Sure. We're having lots of celebrations and encouraging our employees to honor their nursing colleagues with Star Awards, which is a special program that we have. And we'll be doing lots on social media. And what's great is that we have Nurses Week next week, and the week after is actually VON Week, where we honor the rest of our staff, including the nurses. And we're quite excited about that. They do incredible work in the community.
And I understand that Florence Nightingale, on Tuesday, it'll be the 200th anniversary of her birth. That's just incredible.
That certainly is. And, Lady Aberdeen is the one that founded VON. We've been around for 123 years. So we're the longest standing home and community care agency. And our nurses have worked through the Depression and both world wars. And they are an amazing lot. And while some of the services have changed, the spirit and the compassion they demonstrate towards our clients in the community hasn't. That's for sure.
And I know you've got incredible staff working not only in the province of Ontario here, but also in Nova Scotia. Tell me a little bit about the work that they would do on a daily basis.
Sure. So if you're talking about nurses, certainly a lot of it is wound care. So people might go in for surgery and be discharged into the home, and our nurses go in and perform wound care on them so that they heal well. We also have continuing care assistants that go in and help with light housekeeping and personal care. And those services are really what keep people healthy and at home. So we're really excited about that. And we also have staff that help with the community services like adult day programs, Meals on Wheels, things that engage volunteers. So we keep the costs as low as we can while benefiting the community at large.
Joanne, how many staff would you have in its entirety for the VON?
We have about 6,500. full-time, part-time, and casual staff, and we have over 6,000 volunteers. So being a registered charity and a not-for-profit agency, we attract a lot of great people who want to donate. So an example is I did a ride-along at one point for Meals on Wheels with a retired principal from a school who wanted to keep giving to the community. So we feel that this keeps people engaged and healthy as well. And, you know, that social interaction, that's so important. So when I went on this ride-along, you know, Mr. Jones, who's the school principal, retired, goes in and says to Mrs. White, how are you doing today? And here's your meal. And so I think that that really helps. During COVID, we've been able to alter our services so that people are staying safe. But those are some of the services that we provide.
Joanne, I admire you so much, and like I said, I have for years. And as CEO of the VON, when COVID sort of started to arrive in the different provinces, and we knew that it was going to be a big reality here, what were some of the first steps that you took?
Well, we created a command team and a clinical response team and business response team. So you have to be very structured and organized in that kind of crisis. And we have an emergency preparedness plan that we put into action. So we were having twice daily calls, as well as calls with the government, as public health and, you know, the different departments of health in both Ontario and Nova Scotia provided guidelines with respect to the practices and how our services might have to change in light of COVID. So we still have daily calls and huddles. And, you know, the other thing, too, is because we have so many sites across both provinces, there are site huddles that take place remotely so that all of the frontline staff and administrative staff know exactly what is needed to be done. We also dispatched a lot of staff working in the offices to work from home so that they would stay safe. And so we're connecting virtually, lots and lots of Zoom calls and that sort of thing.
As a leader during this time, how important is it that you also take care of yourself and your senior team?
Well, I think that, you know, mental health is really important, and I feel so privileged to lead such a great organization. The staff inspire me each and every day. But I'll tell you what my routine is. I get up in the morning and I do a 1-hour workout. I'm a bit of a gym rat. My gym is now my home. And then we make sure that we go for a walk every night to get some fresh air. So I think it's really important. I encourage all the staff to do the same thing. And I think you really have to have those moments where you can catch a deep breath and think about, you know, all of the things that you're grateful for. And I find that, you know, in a leadership position, it's really important that you keep people uplifted. And I will tell you, my calls with staff, they uplift me right back. So that's that synergy that's so important.
It's such an important piece of this for sure. And Joanne, I really, it breaks my heart to talk to you about what I need to talk to you about next. And, you know, I think, you know, I don't even know where to start, because when I heard that, you know, obviously all of us, when we heard that 22 lives were lost in Nova Scotia in an absolute senseless tragedy, and to hear that 2 of those people were part of your team, it literally struck me at my core, because I know you, but also because it was nurses, and it was so many people that were killed, were the helpers. Joanne, how did you even begin to process any of that?
Well, it was a tremendous shock. I'll never forget getting the call on a Sunday morning. And the odds, what are the odds of it impacting 2 of our staff? It's a terrible tragedy, and my condolences go out to both families. So Heather O'Brien was a nurse who had been with us for about 16 years, much beloved, very well respected. Her clients loved her, her co-workers loved her, and she was actually off that day going to get coffee to spend some time with her daughter when this happened. Kristen Beaton was a continuing care assistant who had been with us for almost 6 years and had a lovely 3-year-old son called Daxton. And her husband, Nick Beaton, has been very helpful to us. She was working that day and going from one client to another when this took place. And while Nick Beaton's heart is broken, as ours are as well, he's been a tremendous voice for getting donations of PPE, which has been a great way for him to stay engaged and for him to be Kristen's voice in all of this. So, we've gotten to know both families. The staff have rallied around the community. We had an amazing memorial ride that took place where 303 cars came out to honor our colleagues. And there were all kinds of VON signs calling them VON angels and heroes. Very, very moving. We also, I should mention, lost at PSW in Ontario a couple of weeks ago named Darlene Reed, who died of COVID. And we're mourning that loss as well. So I think in these moments that are really, really tough, it rises the emotions to the surface, but it also gives you more determination to stay focused on what we're here to do, which is to help the community and take care of our clients. I've had numerous calls and letters and messages of gratitude from our clients that I read out at a weekly videotape message to staff. It helps, I think, keep us going, and for me, it helps me stay connected. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback for that, so it's certainly something that I intend to continue.
I really admire you so much. We're speaking with Joanne Poirier, CEO of the VON. I don't think there's a person that watched Nick Beaton share his message of his beloved wife that didn't also get choked up. He was so passionate and is so passionate about the PPE for the people that you work with. Have you had movement in that area?
We have had some generous donations, and we are very grateful for that. So, gloves and surgical masks, and also digital thermometers, which are in very short supply, but will be needed, I think, post-COVID to be able to take people's temperature safely. So we're very, very grateful. I am in constant communication with Nick, and I posted on my LinkedIn a picture of him and his son Daxton going to deliver PPE, and I can't thank him enough. I think it's brought more focus and attention to what our staff need in order to work safely.
The word vulnerable gets thrown around a lot. But I think he was very vulnerable, and you were also very vulnerable in all of this.
Yeah, I think vulnerability and the human spirit, I've given this a lot of thought of late. And, I think Nick's situation, and particularly since Kristen was expecting a second child, it's too tragic for words. But I think that, being able to focus on something positive that will make a difference is what keeps humans moving. And that's really what we're determined to do. What has inspired me is seeing the determination of our staff to keep going and to stay strong because they know that their services are needed. And I can tell you that nourishes my soul each and every day. I feel so honored to work at VON. I really am.
And if someone, and I know people are inspired hearing you, how would they make a donation to VON Canada and ensure that you have everything that you need to support not only the incredible people on your staff, but also the people that they're helping?
Yes, I think to go on to the VON Canada site, there's a section where people can donate, and I can say that Giving Tuesday this past week, we saw some very generous gifts come through, and we're very grateful for that. And as I say, being a registered charity, it's something that we're continuously trying to pay attention to, because not only does it help us get PPE, but it helps to fund some of the programs and services that are so important in the community. For example, we have donors that will say to us, well, I want to pay for Meals on Wheels for a year. Where do I need to sign up? And it's that sort of help that we really, really appreciate, and that our recipients also really appreciate.
Please send all of our love here from 1310 to everybody at the VON. as you go through this very challenging time. Joanne Poirier, CEO of the VON, I'm very, very grateful for your time.
Thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. When we come back, we're going to speak with Pepe. He's a bus operator at OC Transpo. He's got a great Twitter handle, and you can follow him. He's got lots of great positive stories there. And then coming up a little bit later, we're going to chat with Chris Labelle. He's wrote a fantastic song about those frontliners, those nurses, those bus operators, all of those people that are keeping us safe at this time. Stay with us here on 1310 News.
Special live COVID-19 coverage will continue after this.
Ottawa's local shops, restaurants, and services are woven into the fabric of our city. We can all help them during these challenging times. Order from them online, purchase gift certificates to use later, order meals for takeout or delivery, send them messages of support on social media. Please do it today. Learn how at ottawa.ca/buylocal.
Sam Laprade.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on 1310 News and 570 News and News 95.7. And of course, Rogers TV. We've got some exciting news about Rogers TV coming up. Stay with us for that. I wanted to speak with Pepe. He's a bus operator at OC Transpo. Hi, Pepe.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I have been following you on Twitter and I'm loving it. You are so positive, and I think there's a lot to say about the sacrifices and the incredible work that the staff at OC Transpo have been doing during this time. How are you feeling, and how are you so positive, my friend?
Well, just following, I guess, my nature, which is always to smile and remain positive and look at everything from a good point of view, right? I mean, it really helps nobody if you're just always negative and you can't help it, right? So just try to stay positive and yeah.
Well, I think many times we think about the people that are on the front line of this crisis, and we think about healthcare workers, and of course they're working really hard, and first responders, and we think about truck drivers and grocery store clerks. And I don't know if public transit usually comes to the top of people's lists when they think about essential workers and how hard you're all working, because in many times, many occasions, you're actually taking those frontline workers to work, and you are essential. Do you think about it from that way ever?
I do, actually. I think it's the work that we do is important. Whether we get the praise that other front of the line workers get is out there. But I have to tell you that it's my experience that in my Twitter, for example, feed, and from the people that I see, there's a great amount of gratitude for what we do. People wave at us all the time. We wave back. And I know for a fact every single operator that I know, they are just happy to be of service, and we go to work with that smile on our faces.
You provide that essential service, as we know, Pepe, and along with all of the other bus operators and train operators in this city, really important to have you all working really hard. How's it been to work with clients and people jumping on those bus riders? Are they able to sort of have a conversation with you, or I know they're trying to social distance, but are they sharing that gratitude with you when they're on the bus?
Yes, they do, actually. And in spite of the distance, because I guess you know that everybody is boarding through the back, and everybody has been really, really good about that. They distance, and they try to, for the most part, stay away. So, yeah, we do have exchanges, although there's a bit of screaming, I guess, involved in that. But like I said, for the most part, everybody has a really good attitude, and, it's really good to see. It's really good to see.
When we think about, all the incredible people that are working at OC Transpo at this time, has anyone shared any stories, or do you have any stories to share specifically about somebody that may have really touched your heart?
Well, just in general, I think for the most part, there's a determination on people that, especially nurses. I get a fair amount of nurses in my bus, and it's easy to tell because they're wearing scrubs, right? And there is a sense of determination in their faces when they board the bus. And I guess everybody's doing what we have to do to get out of the other side of this thing. So yeah, in general, I think the story is not an individual story about one person. It's about us as a society and a community. I think we have made quite a bit of progress, or the progress that we do as a community is really evident right now, because it seems to me that we're all working hand in hand to make this possible right now.
It really is true. I saw a post on your Twitter from Councillor Laura Dudas, and she said, "My daughter posted this message to bus operators and all transit workers at OC Transpo, and it says, 'Thank you, essential workers.' And she has hashtag everyday hero." Do you see yourself that way, Pepe?
Not necessarily. I think I don't want to take a victory lap for something that I think we should be doing. It's just my responsibility as a human. And I'm not the only one. There every other operator that I interact with, and even management, and all throughout the structure of OC Transpo, we do what we have to do. And I wouldn't call myself a hero. Just it's more in the realm of responsibility. We just have to do what we have to do, and as part of our, I guess, societal duty, if you want to put it that way.
I'm speaking with Pepe, a bus operator at OC Transpo, and one of the things I love so much about your Twitter account is you talk about mental health, and you were talking about having a day off, and you were doing chores and riding your bikes and supporting local business. How key is that for all of us at this time, Pepe?
I think it's super important. I think this entire event, or what's happening, has really thrown us out of our regular routine. And I do find myself sometimes just wandering around the house with no goal or nothing really to do. And I am a very goal-oriented person. And for the most part, as humans that live in a society, I think we're all the same. So the biggest part for me, for my mental health, is to remain goal-oriented. So we give ourselves tasks at home, and going out and just sort of trying to live a quasi-normal life. I think it's important for your mental health to sort of follow one in the patterns that you sort of used to. That's one way to look at it.
What's your regular route? Do you have a regular route, Pepe?
I don't. And for the most part, and I could say that it has to do with seniority because I've only been working with OC for about 4.5 years. So we choose routes according to seniority. But there is a lot of work, and I wouldn't want to be doing the same route all the time. It sort of gets boring, so I like to change it. So the answer to that is I don't have a specific route, and I'm all over the city. Right now, I'm doing a lot of 63s, 86s, 14s, and 16s. But for the next booking, it may change.
Well, that just means you're spreading your sunshine all over this beautiful city.
I guess you could say that.
You did a thank you video. Why?
A thank you video for, you have to, I'm sorry, I've done a whole bunch of videos.
Yeah, you've done lots. This was a thank you video where you really were talking about the fact we are in this together. And it was, posted on your Twitter feed. It was about maybe 10 days ago. And that's sort of, where I really saw you shine, and your personality is so positive. And that video really spoke to me.
Oh, I remember the one where I said thank you in a whole bunch of different languages.
Yes, I love that.
I just think it's important that we, the emphasis is that we're all in this together, and as a multi-ethnic society, I think it's important that we all see each other as what we are, just human beings, trying to get out of this, on the other side of this, and struggling together. And there's nothing wrong with holding hands with each other, whether we, regardless of our ethnicity. So I think the main point for that is to stay smiling. That's always my goal, just to portray positivity and a smile in spite of the odds. And we can all do it together as a society, as a diverse society.
I loved the fact you were saying thank you in all the different languages. I thought that was really sweet, and I think that really is what creates community, is when we do come together and acknowledge each other in that way. I'm so grateful for your time today. I know you're really busy, and I think you have a day off today, and you're spending it with me, and I'm really grateful and sharing that positivity with our listeners, and really do want to extend a huge thanks to everyone at OC Transpo, everybody from John Manconi right down to, obviously, and he wouldn't look at it that way. He would look at it like you're all working together, but from mechanics to bus operators and to senior staff, everybody at OC Transpo, I don't think you've all received enough praise for everything you've done recently. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
I really appreciate it. When we come back, we're going to speak with Jasna Jennings. She is the general manager of the ByWard Market, and she's doing some great things there. And we want to know what's new in the market. We're going to chat with her. We're also going to speak with Beverly Patwell. She is a leadership author. We're going to speak about how challenging it is to lead in difficult times. And then you will not want to miss Chris Labelle. He is incredible. He is a musician, and he's written a wonderful song, really acknowledging those frontliners like Pepe and the people at OC Transpo and healthcare workers and everybody that's come together for this. So you definitely won't want to miss that. We're also going to speak with Reesa Packard. She is from the Center for Interpersonal Relationships, and we're going to talk about mental health in a pandemic. Stay with us on 1310 News.
Our special live COVID-19 coverage will return after this.
for breaking news. This is 1310 News, Ottawa.
It's Saturday, May 9th. Good afternoon. I'm Alex Gouge. Right now in Ottawa, it's 3 degrees and mostly cloudy. The 1310 News top story. The labor market has seen many disruptions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Statistics Canada reports millions of Canadians have lost their job, and 1310's Tim Hurd has more from a federal minister who breaks down the numbers.
Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, Ahmed Hussein, says, in March, Canada saw over 1 million people lose their job. And in April,
we've seen 2 million people lose their jobs. So that's just over 3 million Canadians losing their jobs.
Which is very concerning for the federal government.
Of course, we will be there for Canadian workers and families to make sure that we support them through this pandemic.
Minister Hussein adds, when the pandemic is over, heading back to work depends on each sector. And the Trudeau government is hopeful the support they have provided to workers and businesses will make for a quick economic recovery. I'm Tim Hurd.
1310 News Time, 12:01. The province has reported 346 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total in Ontario to just under 20,000. Health officials also reported 59 new deaths, bringing the total to 1,599. However, the number of people who have recovered from the virus is over 14,000. In Ottawa, there are 1,603 confirmed cases of COVID-19, including 148 deaths. Another deadly COVID outbreak at one of our country's production lines, this one responsible for processing dairy products in Vaughan, Ontario. 1310's James Mackin joins us with more.
This one death at Vaughan's Saputo Dairy Products was a York Region resident. 23 other employees have tested positive recently, and 5 of those are also residents of York Region. York Regional Public Health was alerted to the confirmed cases on April 29th, and they conducted an on-site investigation the following day. This location does not produce food and it is not open to the public. The processing plant now has a reduced staff complement as well as rigorous cleaning procedures in place and PPE for all staff. These 24 new cases are just the latest cases confirmed at food processing plants throughout the province, with Conestoga Meats in Waterloo confirming 44 new cases on Friday. I'm James Mackin.
1310 News Time, 12:02. Ontario's big city mayors are calling for the federal and provincial governments to offer some financial relief from the toll of the COVID-19 pandemic. The large Urban Mayors Caucus of Ontario says losses from transit systems alone are expected to hit $415 million between April and June. The mayors say they requested financial support during a call with federal and provincial ministers yesterday. They say they're also hoping to work with higher levels of government on an economic recovery plan and reforms that will allow for more sustainable revenue streams in the future. It's something most of us have been waiting for. Live sports is back tonight thanks to the UFC. Our Jeff Rahoman is here with a preview.
For mixed martial arts fans, this card is sick. Think about it. The UFC had to cancel a bunch of shows because of COVID, so President Dana White picked the best fights from all of those shows and put them on this one card. It's nuts. The main event, Tony Ferguson defending his interim lightweight title against Justin Gaethje. Fire, according to the president.
I guarantee you, this fight is going to be insane. I can also guarantee you it will be one of the nominated fights for Fight of the Year this year. Impossible for this fight not to be incredible.
Also, 2-division champion and former Olympic gold medalist Henry Cejudo defends his bantamweight title against former champ Dominic Cruz. This card is so deep, Cowboy Cerrone, who last fought Conor McGregor, is on the prelims. Watch the main card on Sportsnet pay-per-view. I'm Jeff Rahoman.
And I'm Alex Gouge, 1310 News. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawamatters.com.
We're back to special live COVID-19 coverage with Sam Laprade.
Thank you so much for being with us here on Rogers TV 1310 News. And of course, we've got our friends from Kitchener, News 570 News in Kitchener and 95.7 in Halifax. I want to invite you to a wedding. Darcy and Lindsay are getting married today, and this is something you will not want to miss. Have you been to a wedding lately? I don't think many of us have. Darcy and Lindsay met in cancer treatment. They both went into remission, and their love story blossomed. Sadly, Lindsay's cancer has returned aggressively. And today, on Rogers TV, at 2 o'clock, we are absolutely thrilled to present the live coverage of their wedding. Lindsay and Darcy will get married at 2 o'clock today. We definitely want you to tune in and be part of that wedding. And Rogers TV and Gavin Lumsden and the whole team have done such a fantastic job to allow this contact-free video coverage of the event so family and friends can safely witness this ceremony online. Once again, 2 o'clock today on Rogers TV. We definitely want you to be part of Darcy and Lindsay's big day today, and we're sending them lots of love on this day of love and wishing them all the best. I'm now joined by Jasna Jennings. She's the Executive Director of the ByWard Market. Hello, Jasna.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Do you want to watch that wedding with me?
Oh my God, I don't know if I have enough Kleenex.
I know.
Sounds like a tearjerker.
I know. I want to watch it, and I really think it's amazing what Rogers TV has done to bring that to them, and I just think they're an incredible couple, and we're just so happy to be part of that with them today.
What a beautiful story on kind of a lousy day.
I know. I agree. Speaking about amazing, let's talk about you. Let's talk about the ByWard Market. You have been with the ByWard Market. Tell me and remind me how many years.
Oh my gosh, you're dating me, Sam. I started in May 2006.
So you have been through a lot, Jasna, and I think one of the reasons I wanted to chat with you is because, you've been through a lot at the ByWard Market. The ByWard Market really is the heart of this city. And really, what are you seeing? What are you hearing for people in the ByWard Market that have stores and booths and crafts, etc.?
Well, we've had, I do have to kind of put a shout out. We have some business owners who have been absolutely diligent in remaining open and fully servicing the community. So our small independent grocery stores all along ByWard West, from day one, they quickly got organized. John Diener from Saslav's partnered with the House of Cheese, ByWard Fruit, and he does kind of a one-stop shop. So he's your personal shopper. You put in your order, and John shops at all three stores so that you can get kind of a fulsome grocery order, one delivery charge, so you don't have to, get deliveries or, from every single place. They have been at it since day one. Even with some challenges with staff, they have been there. So huge shout out to them. They're still open. Support local. Get down and see them. La Bottega recently reopened. They made some changes inside their store. And, they pivoted over to the curbside pickup and the ordering. And this is actually, May would have been their 25th anniversary. Well, it is their 25th anniversary, but they would have had all kinds of great celebrations and promotions and everything. So they'll visit that later. But, we have been the heart of the community, like you said, since the beginning. Since before Ottawa was even formed, the ByWard Market has been there servicing the community, and our members are, working really hard to keep open and to keep serving the community.
And we think about a weekend like now. Of course, the Canadian Tulip Festival started yesterday and goes until May 18th. This would have been a prime time for you, Jasna, to have that market full of people and really having that opportunity to have the hustle and bustle of tourism in the heart.
Absolutely. I mean, this is actually quite challenging for businesses. Most people think summertime is our busiest time, but really spring is our busiest time, and it's all the excitement of, the winter's gone, a new season, so it always kicks off with the Easter weekend, and because of our tourism designation, we've always been open all 4 days of the Easter weekend, and it's a really big boost for businesses who've kind of struggled throughout the winter time. So, they really look forward to that one Easter weekend. And, of course, Mother's Day. This is typically the reopening of the outdoor market. So I will share that Ottawa Markets, they have reopened today. So 10 to 1 today for curbside pickups, and they're now opened Thursdays and Fridays Thursdays and Saturdays for curbside pickups, 10 to 1. So we're starting to see that life come back. And the market the outdoor market has always been the heart. So when we see that open up, it gives us that kind of boost, that, that positive boost that, hey, we're starting to see the light at the end of this tunnel.
Even when you announced that, Jasna, I could just hear the excitement in your voice, because I'm sure this has been a long couple of months as the executive director of the ByWard Market. This would have been a tough time for you to help lead many of those businesses and look to come together.
It has been tough, and sometimes you feel a little helpless, especially when things first started rolling out. All we could really do was just be a constant provider of information. So we're constantly pushing information as it was coming, as it was changing. As we all know, a lot of the programs were changing daily. So now we've kind of shifted out of that reactive mode, and we're really starting to get into that proactive mode of looking forward to how is this going to look for reopening, and really starting to look at, that positive side of, okay, like waiting to welcome people back into the market. So now we're shifting into that more positive, and it's uplifting actually to kind of feel like we're moving forward to something a little more positive than that, the first few weeks of real worry and concern.
If you were to have some time with Premier Ford, what would you say to him?
I think the first thing I would say is I think he really kind of showed us he's been a leader through this, and he took a stand, with some industries and put his foot down with some things, which was, was kind of nice to see the leadership. But I would also say that, we can't forget that of all the efforts that have been made, there's some challenges with some of the programs, and there's always the people that fall through the cracks depending on their business models. So we really have to make sure that we're mindful of the folks that didn't quite fit into those programs, and we still have to keep working to see how we can assist those where the current programs may have fallen short, and that this is, we need leadership and support in the long term as well. A lot of these programs, very short term, just to get us through this initial crunch, but it's going to be a longer term, so we're really going to need the governments to take that leadership. And the reality is business cannot take on the debt. And, we understand that, money doesn't grow on trees, but the businesses can't burden the debt. It's going to have to be the government, and then we're going to have to figure out, how to manage that debt over the long term, the next decade or so. But that the supports need to keep coming for the longer term as well.
Jasna, you are so community-minded. If I started to list all of the nonprofits you have been involved with in terms of doing events, and we'd run out of time. So tell me about that impact. We've got about 30 seconds. That impact to the ByWard Market.
You mean of the different charitable events?
Yeah, all the work you've done over the last little while, just really trying to encourage people to get involved in those events you were doing for nonprofits.
Well, I would just say, at the end of the day, the ByWard Market is for everyone. It's for absolutely everybody, and so we do our best to work with everybody to try to help where those challenges lie. But we're so happy to partner with so many great organizations in the city that do a lot of work. And we're still here, and we're happy to keep partnering in this new reality that we have. So, for those who've got the fundraisers, I know for you, like this is your heart, the fundraisers, the charities, they're really hurting too. All these big events that they used to pull in funds. So we're here, we're ready to talk as we always have been. So if you've got some ideas, you need a venue, you need a, showcase, come talk to us, because we are here and part of the community like everybody else.
And that's why I adore you. Jasna Jennings, Executive Director of the ByWard Market. Keep strong, my friend. I can't wait to be strolling through the market soon.
Thank you. I can't wait to give you a big hug the next
I know. I can't wait either. Look forward to it. Jasna Jennings, Executive Director of the ByWard Market. When we return, Beverly Patwell. She is an author that speaks about leadership. We've heard some great leaders today, and we want to hear from her for her advice. Stay with us here on 1310 News.
Special live COVID-19 coverage will continue after this.
Ottawa's local shops, restaurants, and services are woven into the fabric of our city. We can all help them during these challenging times. Order from them online, purchase gift certificates to use later, order meals for takeout or delivery, send them messages of support on social media. Please do it today. Learn how at ottawa.ca/buylocal.
With Sam Laprade.
Thank you so much for joining us here on 1310 News and Rogers TV. We're so happy that you're here. We wanted to speak about leadership in difficult times, and we wanted to speak with Beverly Patwell. She's an author. Hello, Beverly.
Hi, Sam. Nice to be on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us. Beverly, let's chat a little bit about your book and really this book during this challenging times. Has that been challenging?
Yes. It's a challenge to release a book during a global pandemic for sure.
So let's chat.
We worked hard though, and we really believe in it, and we really wanted to help people. The book is designed so that people can help reflect on their own approach to leading and living through change, and there's tools in there to help people develop their plans for recovery and renewal.
I think it's a really important piece because, our lives have changed so much, whether it be personally or professionally over the last few weeks. We certainly have had a number of changes in our lives. What are some of the tools in your book that can help people bring their best self every day?
Right. There's two tools that I believe are really helpful. The reframing exercise and a Leading Meaningful Change self-development guide. These tools are designed so people can use them on themselves, or they can also use them with their teams or help others to practice these skills. Let me explain the reframing exercise. It's one of my favorites and one that I used a lot during the COVID our COVID experience. In the early days of COVID, as we all know, we had to get used to walking. We had to get used to how we were doing our groceries and so on. So on one of my Sunday morning walks, where I typically, take my time, go through the neighborhood, and I'm relaxed and enjoying my walk, I was getting more and more frustrated. I had to hop off the sidewalk because you can't pass people. I'd walk on people's lawns, and it was really becoming difficult, and I was challenged and getting frustrated. And I got to one corner, and there's this lady waiting for me to pass her, and she looked at me, and she could tell I was frustrated, and she said, "This is a dance." So I burst out laughing, and I was laughing at myself, like, how ridiculous. Of course, this is a dance, and we're all learning together. So I called it my COVID dance. I reframed this so that I can work with it. I'm not ignoring the fact that this is a different world. But the rest of my walk was fun, and when I saw people looking like I was, I would say this is the COVID dance, pass it on, and it made it a lot more pleasurable. So reframing is really key. It helps us to refocus and get back on track and be our best selves. The guide, the Leading Meaningful Change Self-Development Guide, is a really good process and also a tool to help us think about how we're showing up as we're leading change. And now we're leading change not only at work, but also in our families as heads of families and how we show up in our community. So in it, there's a competency assessment and some really nice questions to help people think about how they want to lead and why they want to lead right now, and what's their higher purpose as they're leading through crisis.
I'm stealing that from you, Beverly. I'm going to be dancing through the COVID-19 from now on. I love that so much. Let's talk about what people are telling you. What are leaders telling you and people in your own life telling you about the impact of COVID-19 on their leadership?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We're seeing a consistent theme with the people that we've been speaking to over the last 8 weeks, that they're not only having to deal with their own emotions and personal experience living through the crisis, they're also having to do that at the same time as leading the people at home and their families, as a parent, as a friend, and as a member of their communities. So it's quite the challenge. And when we think about that, it's easy just to go to the negatives of what's not working. So I always like to ask people, well, what is working? Where are you having success? So starting from that, people start to reflect on, there are some things that they're enjoying, actually. We're seeing people stepping up to call to action, that we're all in this together. And it's crossing over all ages, and everybody has a part to play in flattening the curve. So that's really nice to see. People are, in my community, we're out there at 7 o'clock banging pots and pans to support the people on the front line, and the neighbors. We know more about them and what's happening in their families, and who's out there at our grocery stores, and working in the hospitals and visiting people at home and stuff. So that's really inspiring. We're also seeing that people are having more meaningful conversations at work. They're working virtually, they're doing regular check-ins, they're learning more about their people from a human perspective and talking about things that aren't only work and business related. So there's different types and levels of connections that are happening that are really meaningful and important. we're also seeing that, there was the big scare. We have no playbook for this, but a lot of people are being able to reprioritize their work and repurpose some of the things that they were doing, in terms of, strategic planning or how they were serving their customers and so on. So that's really, really interesting and affirming for people that they do have skills, they do have talents, and they can live through this crisis. And for others, they see this as an opportunity. We're seeing people renewing their shared values and purpose around what they're doing in their organizations. And some of the people here in my community in Victoria are also seeing this is the next phase is about reinvigorating our community and rejuvenating some of people's hopes and wishes for the future. But on the challenging side, it's the number one was adjusting and continuing to adjust to working at home. The lines between work and home are blurred. People are struggling, by, things like trying to see who's going to use the computer. Not everybody has their own computer. People are sharing the room and doing timeshare. I know a friend of mine whose husband runs a call center, so he uses it in a day, and she's doing the night shift in their room doing her work, and her daughter is doing the schoolwork in the other bedroom. So it's really challenging, and in particular for young moms who are working and trying to juggle childcare, where they're trying to entertain their children and at the same time get their work done. So it is a challenge, and that was the number one challenge we're hearing. On the other side, this has taken a toll. It's exhausting. It looks like people are having fun cleaning their closets and, going for walks and stuff, but the learning curve has been tough for some folks. So some people are really zoomed out, too many Zoom meetings. They're on all the time now, and it's causing some people some fatigue. They're into change fatigue, I think. But at the same time, we are in a new reality, and it's not going away anytime soon. So this is going to be something we're going to have to continue to learn and adapt to.
Thank you so much, Beverly. Beverly Patwell, author. Really appreciate your time today and sharing your insights. Really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. And thanks for the invitation to be on the show.
Of course, anytime. Love hearing about leadership, certainly, especially in these difficult times. And speaking about leaders, it is Mother's Day tomorrow. And can we think about that very first leader that we loved in our life, and that's our mom. And, as we think towards Mother's Day tomorrow, we really want to think about moms, whether you're a mother of one or a mother of 10, we're thinking about you, whether you're a stepmom, whether you're a godmom, whether you've lost a little one, maybe you've lost a child, maybe you're a grandma, maybe you're a single mom. There's lots of love that is coming to all of you tomorrow, and really want to extend that to all of you, and wish my mom a very happy birthday, good heavens, a very happy Mother's Day tomorrow as well, because I think, it's going to be an opportunity for us to certainly think about our moms, and more now than ever. And as so many people are struggling right now with everything they need to juggle, and certainly sending lots of love to all the moms. So hopefully you're going to have an opportunity to celebrate with your mom tomorrow. Stay with us on 1310 News.
Our special live COVID-19 coverage will return after this.
number one for breaking news. This is 1310 News, Ottawa.
It's Saturday, May 9th. Good afternoon. I'm Alex Gouge. Right now in Ottawa, it's lightly snowing and it's 2 degrees. Here's what's making news this hour. Provincial health officials have reported 346 new cases of COVID-19, marking the lowest increase Ontario has seen since early April. The total now stands at just under 20,000 cases. Officials also reported 59 new deaths linked to the virus, bringing the total to 1,599. Meantime, the number of people who have recovered from the virus stands at over 14,000. In Ottawa, there are 1,603 confirmed cases of COVID-19, including 148 deaths. Acclaimed musician and founding father of rock and roll, Little Richard, has died at the age of 87. Little Richard was known for his joyful stage persona, which set the template for several other musicians, including the Kinks, Elton John, and countless others. He was known for his hits Tutti Frutti and Long Tall Sally. If you wanted to take a snap of the tulips during the festival this year, you're in luck. The NCC announced on Twitter it is removing the no photo signs at Commissioner Park. However, the NCC is asking that people take their pictures when walking by and continue to practice physical distancing. This comes as Mayor Jim Watson called on the NCC to rethink the photo ban. The Tulip Festival runs until May 18th, with all the programming shifting to online. I'm Alex Gouge, 1310 News. For more news, follow us on Twitter or at ottawamatters.com.
COVID-19 special live coverage continues with your host, Sam Laprade.
Thank you so much for joining us here. We're so happy that you're spending some time with us today. I wanted to speak with Reesa Packard. She's a registered psychotherapist at the Center for Interpersonal Relationships. Hello, Reesa.
Hello, Sam. It's so nice to speak to you again.
Oh, I really enjoyed our last chat, and I really welcome the opportunity to speak with you. Of course, we're just ending what's known as Mental Health Week, but I think in many ways this conversation was really perfectly timed because so many people are thinking about mental health right now. Have you found that in your own circles?
Absolutely. What great timing for Mental Health Week, because that is bringing the focus to sort of like our internal worlds coming out into the forefront, right? Yes, I'm seeing a lot of talk, a lot of stirring right now. I think part of what's happening is that when this COVID crisis first hit, a lot of us were plagued all of a sudden with emotions of overwhelm, of anxiety, as is the case at the onset of any crisis. However, as we have continued to live through this, so we've had a bit of time and space to absorb some of what's been happening, and then certainly as we begin to anticipate the next stages of reopening and stepping back out into the world, there's a whole different set of emotional experiences that I'm seeing people come in with in my practice at CFIR. And so I'm seeing them have things like depression, like hopelessness, like helplessness and despair, and certainly the chronic boredom and understimulation that we've seen all along, but there's a new frustration to that. And so I think part of that stirring is people having different experiences increasingly.
And I think that's a really important point, because I think not, all depression doesn't look the same. All mental health doesn't look the same. It's as broad as to think all the different things that can go wrong with our body. The same, if not more, different facets can play with our minds.
Agreed. And that points to how we're all living this in our own way, even if there are these broad, maybe call them phenomena, such as what I just said, that movement away from the high stress and heightened emotion and more to the despair, the low hopelessness.
We've heard a phrase a lot. I don't know if you've seen it on social media, and it says, same storm, different boats. And I thought that was really indicative about how people are coping, because, I know people that are really busy right now, and they've been the busiest they've ever been. So they maybe haven't had that mental health piece hit them yet. And then other people whose in many ways their lives have been sort of taken away from them in terms of their work life, and maybe they're at home caring for elderly people, or they're caring for little ones 24/7. So everybody's going through the same storm, but we're just in different boats.
Very interesting. You know what I hear in that? I hear unity, like commonality in human experience. And even as we're saying, the differences across person to person, and also at the same time, somehow something broad that's holding us all together.
I love that. I think it's really, really good. When we think about relationships right now, we think about, and there's been jokes about it, but I think it's actually really serious that the amount of couples that may be going through a challenging time being with each other 24/7, trying to juggle kids and Zoom meetings and the house and not being able to just sort of have that alone time, if you will. Are you hearing that as well?
Absolutely. I'm hearing that. We're almost in that impossible situation. We're getting through it somehow, but really when you lay it all out, how on earth are we getting through it? I'm not really sure. We're taking it moment by moment and giving it our best shot, I guess. I think that the best tool that we have to move through this is connection. It's connection to self, and it's connection to other. In this case, when we talk about relationships, connection to other is about reaching out, so being aware when we need connection and being aware when, connection can exist but kind of from further away, and we can be anchored more within our own selves. Other times we need to be steeped more in that connection, and negotiating that dance between being steeped more in ourselves and being steeped more in connection is maybe the hardest thing about being in a relationship in the best of times. And we're seeing that as a big part of the strain that we're experiencing within the COVID crisis because of that pressure cooker around all the time spent together.
I was speaking with a friend the other day, and she said that she had to go pick up their weekly groceries. And normally they sort of did it as a family, as a bit of an outing. And she turned to her family. She's like, I have to go by myself. I have to. And I think those are those opportunities for us to be, and I've used the word a few times today on the show, and I usually seem to squeak it in there once a day, is vulnerable, vulnerable to say, listen, I really do need this time by myself. And sometimes when people take it personally, whether it be family or maybe your spouse that say, well, why you don't want to be with me, or, they take it personally, then that's where the conflict starts, right?
That's right. It can be so tricky because we're social beings and we need each other, but absolutely not at the expense of self. So if we can be whole, if we can be within ourselves and also within a relationship, of course, that's the ideal. It can feel scary to express to somebody else what we need or what's truly happening inside of us, especially when, as you say, that comes with the risk of offending them or, quote unquote, pushing them away, having them feel unwanted.
Really is important. We're speaking with Reesa Packard. She's a registered psychotherapist for the Center for Interpersonal Relationships. And when I think about, relationships, we often think about couples that are living together. But the reality is there's a lot of people living by themselves right now. Maybe it's a single mom like myself, or, I think about my mom who's a senior by herself. Relationships in that way can really be challenged too, because if you don't have that sort of connection all the time, in terms of being close together, but you're trying to stay connected as a family. Are you hearing about those challenges, Reesa?
I'm hearing about that, especially this week as we anticipate Mother's Day tomorrow. Not many people are with their mothers unless, they're young kids, young families. Most of us are in separate households. And so people are talking about feeling that distance a lot. When we talk about feeling connected, what are we actually talking about? This is what my research has been. It's a word that we use all the time, but I don't know that we really know what that means to us. What is happening for us when we feel connected versus when we don't feel connected? And my research is showing that a lot of what's happening when we feel connected is that live, embodied, in the moment, tangible connection. Like my nervous system picks up on your nervous system when we're in the same room together, making eye contact or touching. And this is a type of connection that's so fundamental to our sense of well-being, our health and our wellness. And this is the type of connection that we've been the most deprived of over the last couple of months.
One of the things I love to do on this show is provide resources and tools. So, we've sort of talked about a couple of different scenarios, maybe couples or people living by themselves. What resources, Reesa, can you suggest to people that they may want to, to maybe tap into on the internet or find that they can help themselves get through this time?
Good question. Well, I think that I'll say right off the bat, psychotherapy is more accessible now than ever. It's one of the positive changes coming out of the COVID crisis, where not only teletherapy and online therapy makes it more accessible, but also some insurance coverages are extending their policies. So you might want to look into that and see if you're eligible for more than you were before. The other thing in terms of, so CFIR, we all have blogs and we all have information, so you can check us out on social media. There's a constant stream of information from the therapists that are putting that out there. But ultimately, I think that the biggest resource that we have is ourselves. I think that there's so much value in checking in with yourself, taking once or twice a day, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds if you can tolerate it. And check in with your thoughts, check in with your feelings, check in with even your bodily sensations, and ask yourself, how am I really doing right now? And maybe we can sit with that. If we can sit with that, it can give us a lot of information about what we might need in the moment. And then while we're doing that, can we check in with others too? Because maybe if I need something, there's somebody around me, therapist or not, who can help me. And then maybe I can also help them, because the dose of feel-good chemicals that happen in our brain when we do help somebody are so rewarding for us as well. And then in that way, we can kind of incrementally help each other out. You help me, I help me, also by helping you. And we can build each other up that way. Maybe connection's our biggest resource.
Reesa, is this a good time to talk to our teens about mental health?
To our who, sorry?
Our teens, our teenagers.
Absolutely. Now is a good time to talk to everybody about mental health. Experts are predicting a big increase in mental health crisis. We're in an unprecedented situation when it comes to not only infectious disease, but also mental health. So now's a good time to have this conversation with everybody. I wouldn't restrict that in any way.
Really important. I really always appreciate your insight, and I think mental health, like you say, we're going to be seeing something further in terms of a crisis in the future, and I really value the work that you're doing, and have an opportunity to join me to try and share those tools with people. I'm really grateful for that. Reesa Packard, registered psychotherapist for the Center for Interpersonal Relationships. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
At 2 o'clock today on Rogers TV, there's going to be a wedding, and you're invited. Darcy and Lindsay are getting married. They were in cancer treatment together, and love blossomed, which we love hearing that. Unfortunately, Lindsay's cancer has come back aggressively. And so today on Rogers TV, I'm so proud of the Rogers group of companies, and especially Gavin Lumsden and his team at Rogers TV for allowing this couple to have this incredible day today. So their nuptials are going to be covered at a very social, safe distance, of course, for their friends and family to be able to watch on Rogers TV. So that means you're invited to a wedding too, and we love that so much. So we do encourage you today in just a little over an hour to tune in and see the wedding of Darcy and Lindsay. They are a beautiful couple. The love will just come through that screen for you as well. And I think we need this today, a time where we see a young couple really taking their steps together under very challenging circumstances in terms of health and the pandemic that we're in. But that is not stopping them, and nor should it. So we're going to see love blossom at 2 o'clock here on Rogers TV. I wanted to also say that we're going to be chatting with Chris Labelle. He's a musician. He wrote a fantastic song. I am going to put a little friendly wager on who gets more emotional during our next segment, if it's going to be Chris or I. He is an incredible guy. So you'll want to stay with us for Chris Labelle to hear his song about frontliners. He is a new dad, too, so we're going to chat about that. We're so happy to have our friends from 570 News in Kitchener, News 95.7 in Halifax, and right here on 1310 News.
Our special live COVID-19 coverage will return after this.
Ottawa's local shops, restaurants, and services are woven into the fabric of our city. We can all help them during these challenging times. Order from them online, purchase gift certificates to use later, order meals for takeout or delivery, send them messages of support on social media. Please do it today. Learn how at ottawa.ca/buylocal.
To special live COVID-19 coverage with Sam Laprade.
Thank you so much for joining us here on 1310 News and Rogers TV. And of course, our friends are joining from Kitchener and Halifax. We're so happy about that. I wanted to speak with Chris Labelle, who's a musician. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how's it going today?
Good. Do you want to put a friendly wager on who's going to get more emotional during this segment, you or me?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one. I was so happy. My friend Gary Dimmick reached out to me and said, Sam, you have to listen to this song. And Chris, I got to tell you, there wasn't a dry eye in my world listening to it. Tell us a little bit about your song.
You're already getting me emotional. Yeah, you know what? I've been doing music ever since the hockey career ended, and I'm just so glad that I was able to write a song that meant so much to me because, my brother, he's working the front lines at the Ottawa General Hospital. My mom's a cashier at Metro, and she's a little older now, and she's had like a triple bypass. So, if COVID got to her, it probably wouldn't be good. But, up to this point in my career, I've never had a song like this just take off and touch as many people as it has.
Well, I felt like I was, kind of ahead of the scoop because I had you booked for today for a few days, and then the Ottawa Citizen comes out and talks about you today. Yeah. How cool was that?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm just so glad that it's connecting with people because that's what the song was meant to do. It was just, this song is bigger than me, and it just goes out to the frontline workers out there because, we get to stay home, we get to watch TV, we get to spend time with our loved ones, and they're facing it head on, and they're not. This is serious. Like my brother had texted me about a couple of weeks ago before I wrote the song, and I could hear like the fear just through the text message saying, Chris, this is real. I love you. And I was just like, Kyle, man, like I was just like, everything's gonna be good. Everything's gonna be all right. And I couldn't sleep that night. I was my wife was due in 5 days, so that was a little extra pressure on our shoulders. So I just thought, I don't have a ton of money in the world to donate, so the only way I know how to say thank you was to pick up my guitar and write a song.
And I think we should hear a little bit of it. What do you think?
Oh, I'd love to.
Okay, let's do it.
I can't even imagine. We're told to stay home. You're facing it straight on. Days, nights, weeks, months. There's fear, not only for yourself, but for those around you. Some can't even hug their own kids. But there's love from the entire world. So thank you, frontliners.
And this is for the fighters, frontliners, and those working all-nighters, above and beyonders, getting it doneers, and those up with the sunners. We lost some good ones, we've had some bad luck. It could have been worse if it weren't for you.
Wow. What do you think when you hear it on the radio?
I'm just so happy that you're spreading the love and everybody's sharing it, and it totally blew my expectations. I had put this up on Facebook the night after I wrote the song, and it was just myself playing acoustic guitar, singing in my kitchen, and it blew up. Like there was shares and views. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to contact a guy here in Ottawa named Steve Foley. And basically I was just like, how can we do this and social distance at the same time? And because we have amazing technology, we ended up doing this song. Like we recorded it, but we didn't want to overproduce it because I wanted the lyric to get across. And 2 days after that, we shot a video for it, and 2 days after that, it had like 100,000 views on Facebook and like 1,000 shares. And just the messages that I've been getting in my inbox from nurses and like truckers and grocery store clerks, it's just every day I cry. Every day I like shed a tear because there's one message in there that just makes me feel so good. And that's the reason why I wrote the song.
We talk about moms getting emotional after having a baby, and I know you've got a brand new baby. Tell me about him.
Oh, Grayson Brian Labelle. He was born April 27th at 6:12 p.m. and he was a big boy. He was 8 pounds 15 ounces, and my wife is such a fighter. She her water broke on the Saturday, and we didn't know what was going on. Right, like we were going in to COVID-19, like a hospital that had cases with COVID-19, but the hospital staff there was just amazing. They treated us so good. We felt so safe. We stayed in a room for 5 days, and she had a long labor. And then at the end, she needed a C-section, and it was just, it's crazy. I feel so blessed to have Grayson healthy and my wife healthy, and everybody at the hospital that just treated us with so much care. It was amazing, and I can't thank them enough.
It really is incredible. We're speaking with Chris Labelle, and when you think about what's happening tomorrow, it's Mother's Day tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Will that mean a little bit more tomorrow for you, Chris Labelle?
Oh, you know what? So I was hoping Grayson would come before Mother's Day, so I got everything prepared. I hope my wife's not listening to this right now.
She's probably napping. We're hoping she's napping, Chris.
Yeah, I hope she's napping with the baby. But I prepared a couple weeks beforehand and got some stuff online for her, and it's going to be a special Mother's Day. And it was actually my parents' anniversary yesterday. and it's my dad's birthday on Monday. So May 8th to May 12th will always be pretty special for me in my life. And this is the first Mother's Day for Julie, so I'm super excited for her, and I can't wait for her to open her gift.
That is really awesome. I really think about you as you go through this, this amazing time, and so many people are struggling. And I think when we find those moments of joy, we just hold on to them, right? And really hope that this song resonates with so many. Tell us where we can find the song for those that it's really touched today.
Yeah, so you know what? This happened all so quickly that when I put it up on Apple and Spotify, they haven't even been able to register it yet because it came so quickly. But pretty soon it should be available on all streaming services. And right now you could go to YouTube. You could go to my Facebook page, Chris Labelle Music, or, just type in Chris Labelle Frontliners on YouTube and you could watch the video. And the guy that did the video, James Harkness, it's just so emotional the way that he put it together, and it was awesome because I had asked nurses and frontline workers to send me pictures of themselves over Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and I just got overloaded with pictures, and I gave them to James, and James put it all together, and he did such a wonderful job, and I'm so happy that people are really touched by it.
Well, I certainly was, and I certainly appreciate your time today. Chris Labelle, wish your beautiful wife a happy Mother's Day and enjoy your time with Grayson.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And a reminder, too, we have a very special time coming up at 2 o'clock on Rogers TV. We're hoping you're going to turn into that very special wedding happening between Lindsay and Darcy. They are going to be sharing a special moment together, as we know that Lindsay isn't well right now. So this is even a more special time. Health is challenging for her right now due to cancer. And of course, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So very, very challenging time for that family, but they are coming together and getting married, and the love is just going to come right through your TV at you. So we look forward to that. I want to thank all my guests today, including Jasna Jennings and Joanne Poirier and so many great people. I'm going to say goodbye to you today, but send you with a little bit of love from Chris Labelle. Thanks so much for tuning in to 1310 News.